This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley Smith.
Well, good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Friday, January 20th, 2023. We're so glad you can join us today. In today's episode of Ag Matters PM, I finish up my discussion with Cattlemen's Beef Board CEO Greg Haynes, where we talk about U.S. meat exports, specifically from beef, and how that is expanding on a global scale. We also have a check of that ag weather outlook, but first we'll kick it over to Mark for a check of the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day, we are joined now by Tyler Schau of agmarket.net with our market analysis. Tyler, what did we see on the grain markets today?
Started out this morning with one. We had a pretty good flash sale on soybeans, a 220,000 metric ton to unknown. We also got the export sales report, and it was actually for the first time really in about a month, we had really good export sales, had corn over 1 million metric ton, well above the expectations. I think the high end of the range was 750,000. Beans were right close to 1 million metric ton, 986,000 metric ton, and wheat actually saw one of its best prints for about a month as well at 473,000 metric tons across all three classes of wheat. So that was a shot in the arm that we desperately needed on the demand side, but it kind of feels like maybe these South American, Argentine weather worries pressed the corn and beans at least a little to the downside. Corn going to end up closing basically unchanged with down a penny to a half a penny in most of the contracts, and beans down about a dime in your nearby and a little more in the new crop, which just says that the trades worry about that rain hitting in Argentina and improving the crops that's down there, maybe adding a few more bushels on than what we were thinking here a week or two ago.
Tyler, I'm always interested. You just mentioned that weather in South America, and of course, we're always keeping an eye on that and what's happening there. But for, let's say, an individual producer here in the state of Iowa, is that something they should be doing too? Should they be following that day-to-day news, or should they just wait, sit back, and let people like agmarket.net, other analysis groups to say, hey, this is what's happening in South America? What would you recommend there?
A little bit of both. I think you can't turn a blind eye. You can't ignore it because it is going to have an effect on your bottom line. But you're exactly right. We're going to see lots of day-to-day movement that, in the scheme of things, isn't a really big deal. What I try to remind my customers is even with the setback in prices from, if you want to go back to last spring or go back to just a few months ago, we're still in most cases at very, very profitable levels for most farmers across the U.S. So, we're going to encourage you to look at your bottom line, not focus on what weather's doing, half a world away. And in a lot of cases, there's some pretty good opportunities to get some sales on, get some hedges on, use some options so that you maintain some flexibility. But on the grand scheme, no, I don't think the individual producer has to be paying attention to the minute changes in the weather forecast.
Tyler, on the other side of the livestock, or on the other side of the ag marketplace, we of course have the livestock markets. We've seen a lot of red on our market screen so far this week. We are waiting for some data to be released. And so far today, at least earlier today, we did see some green on the screens. Did that continue through close?
Yes, we did end up closing, with the exception of the nearby feeder calf contract, January feeders, which is going to settle next Thursday. Every other livestock class on the board did close green or closed up, which is first time we can say that in a couple weeks anyhow. We got a cattle on feed report that's going to come out here shortly. And, it's kind of if it comes out kind of near where the analysts are expecting, I would say it's probably going to be pretty bullish to cattle because they're calling for a sharp reduction in placements, cattle on feed, the whole gamut compared to a year ago. Now, you got to remember a year ago, all those numbers were incredibly high and some of the highest that we've seen in quite some time. But if those do come to fruition, I think they have placements down 9% or placements at 91% of what they were last year in the month of December. That would be a bullish story in the cattle complex. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. If it is, my assumption is that we'll see some dollars added back into those feeder cattle contracts and probably the fat cattle contracts as well. If it doesn't quite hit those expectations, if it's not down at 91% of placements, then I think that would be kind of negative to cattle. But we may have bled out as much as we can bleed out here the last couple of weeks. So it'll be interesting to see what this report says and how the market reacts to it next Monday.
And Tyler, with the hog market, what's your big picture right now as far as hogs are concerned? Because I know you said just a little bit ago, a few weeks, or maybe it was about a week and a half ago, you said that you didn't feel great about where cattle was at the moment. Where do you feel about where hogs are right now?
I would argue hogs are probably too cheap right at the moment. Compared to beef, obviously pork is a much cheaper option. And I'm sure I've seen stories about it on the news and on social media. So the whole world knows how expensive eggs are today. Chicken prices are expensive. Eggs are expensive. Pork is your cheap protein right at the moment. So I think that bodes well for pork. We do have the story of China and their, coming out of their COVID lockdown policies and how all that shakes out. So, if they come back strong here over the next few months, they'll probably be avid pork buyers. So I do feel like pork is probably a little too cheap, especially here in the upfront contracts.
He is Tyler Schau with agmarket.net with our market analysis here today. Tyler, how can our viewers get in touch for more great information?
Check us out, the website, agmarket.net. You can look up all of our brokers, sign up for our Ag Intel. We got a conference coming up in Nashville the 5th and 6th of February, and it's farming for profit, not price. And if they want to call me direct, the number 701-987-6009.
And that was Tyler Schau of agmarket.net with our closing market analysis. Thank you to Tyler, as always. And it's time now to turn our attention to the closing numbers. And those closing numbers brought to us courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. March corn down 1 even at 6.76 1/4. New crop December corn down 1/2 cent at 5.95 3/4. March soybeans down 8 1/4 at 15.06 1/2. New crop November soybeans down 12 1/2 at 13.52 even. May soybean meal down 5.20 at 4.51 even. Soybean oil for May down 1 even at 61.98. Chicago wheat up 6 1/4 at 7.49 even. Minneapolis wheat up 7 1/4 at 9.05 1/4. And Kansas hard red wheat up 13 3/4 at 8.41 1/4. May oats up 1 3/4 at 3.65 3/4. On the Merc, live cattle for February up 67 cents at 156.62. January feeder cattle down 17 cents at 177.92. February lean hogs up $1.17 at 77.82. February pork cutout up $1.12 at 85.62. Class 3 milk for January up 1 cent at 19.46.
And that's been a check of the markets. Thanks again to Mark for filling in for me today. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, I finish my conversation with Cattlemen's Beef Board CEO Greg Haynes. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Well, earlier this week, I talked with Cattlemen's Beef Board CEO Greg Haynes about misinformation in the beef industry and how they're fighting that, as well as promoting sustainability within the industry. Now, today, we are going to finish up that conversation as we talk about the beef exports on a global scale and how producers can get involved with the Beef Board and the Beef Checkoff to learn about how their product is being promoted. Well, and speaking of that demand for beef, not just within the country, but globally, what are some of the things that the Checkoff is doing to promote U.S. beef exports to other countries?
Right. Yeah. One area that the checkoff can work as well as, marketing, promotion, research is in international promotions as well. So we work with the U.S. Meat Export Federation that has offices around the world to help promote U.S. beef in the different markets. And this has been huge. This year, the final numbers aren't in yet, but we're looking at probably close to, $12 billion of exports. So huge numbers. And probably the kind of exciting thing about that is, here in the U.S., we're big consumers of steaks and ground beef, hamburgers and that. But a lot of these other cuts, we really don't consume that much of. But in other cultures, those are high demand items and they pay a premium for them. So by doing this, we can, export a lot of these cuts that would be low value here for a higher value in those markets. And so that really helps raise the entire value of the cutout and bring premiums back to the industry here.
Well, and with those variety cuts especially, I know that there's been quite a bit of success overseas with exporting those there, right?
Oh, definitely. I mean, when I'm talking to people, I ask, have you had beef tongue or beef lips or tripe, within the last year? And pretty much everybody says, no, we haven't. And so if we weren't exporting those types of items, they would just be going into grind or to rendering. But here they're actually used. Beef lips are a huge item going to Mexico that they use for tacos. So we can get, $1.50 a pound there. Beef tongue is huge in Japan. We can get $8, $9 a pound for them. So that increase in value really is important and very big, because if not, we would have a lot of these items sitting here, which would just kind of pull down the entire value and really not benefit our producers at all.
Right, and then looking just ahead into this year, what are some of the things that will be going on with the Cattlemen's Beef Board and the Beef Checkoff that maybe producers should get excited about?
Yeah, there's a lot that's happening. I mean, we're going to be having our big meetings in New Orleans at the beginning of February. We'll be having all of our committee meetings or talking about the activities and programs that are going on there. So I encourage anybody who's in the area there, swing by. You can come to any of the Cattlemen's Beef Board meetings for free. They're open to the public. You don't have to pay registration or anything. And following that, we're going to have the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300. So this will be the third time that the Beef Checkoff has sponsored the big race at Daytona. It's the day before the Daytona 500. So on Saturday, they have the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300. So this has become really an exciting event. A lot of reach just with consumers there, but also the social media impacts and the TV and news reporting and everything have really been beneficial going forward. We have a lot going on with STEM education for middle and high school students. So there are programs now that are actually getting beef curriculum into students that are into the science and engineering programs, so they can see all the impacts and positive attributes of that. And just, again, moving forward with a lot of the different activities with new research, looking how to continue to improve the safety and quality of the product, utilizing bloggers and social media, again, to target consumers and really show them, where that product comes from. One of the things we see is that consumers trust farmers and ranchers, but they don't necessarily hear those stories as they get more and more removed from, rural and agriculture, farming and all of that. So we really are working more to get a lot of those stories out there so that the producers can be telling the consumers, hey, here's what we do, here's how we produce the product, and how we care for the animals and everything. So a lot going on in all these areas. Sustainability, as we talked about, is a huge issue. So moving forward with that to ensure that information's out there and trying to dispel a lot of this misinformation about beef production being bad for the environment. As we see, it really isn't. It has a lot of positive benefits. So just trying to really push those messages out to consumers.
And of course, we know that any benefits that we see to the ag industry will also just cycle back around and provide benefits to the consumer as well. So it's just, one big positive event.
Yep, exactly. I think as consumers learn more about beef, again, they've got a product that's so delicious, super nutritious, good for the environment, good for them, that it's very positive for them. It helps our producers as well. And so it really is a win-win that, consumers can get a great product that they like, and that feedback goes back to producers. And what we've seen too is that as this goes and we get more feedback from consumers, our producers have been able to really work with the genetics and work with their breeding programs to continue to improve that quality for the consumer. So it's a very positive cycle where, we're getting that feedback. We're making better beef all the time. And it just kind of keeps moving up in a positive way that way.
Well, Greg, lots of great conversation today. For those of our listeners and our viewers who would like to get in touch and learn more and even get involved with the Cattlemen's Beef Board, how can they do that?
Yeah, no, I encourage everyone, if you're a cattle producer out there, you're paying into the checkoff. And so we really value, your contributions and your support of the programs. Any questions you have about how the program works, feel free to call our office at any time. Call me, talk to any of our staff. You can also go to the website, drivingdemandforbeef.com. That has all the information on the programs, our contact information and everything. But it's a very important program because really this is the only thing that the cattle producers have to promote our product. And as we know, there is a lot of competition for the middle, center of the plate proteins with consumers. You've got other animal proteins. We obviously have a lot of these plant-based meats and things. So this is really the program that helps counter that and keep beef center of plate.
Well, Greg, thanks for taking the time to visit with us today. And I'll be down in New Orleans as well, so look forward to seeing you there.
Great. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you there, Riley. Appreciate all the time today. And thank you to all the beef producers out there.
That again was Cattlemen's Beef Board CEO Greg Haynes. As for right now, let's go ahead and take a look at that ag weather outlook. Well, there is still a blanket of snow across most of this state, and as I've talked with Iowa State climatologist Dr. Justin Glisson here recently a lot, we like to see that snowpack, so hopefully that sticks around for when the ground thaws and we can replenish some of that soil profile. As for this weekend and then into next week, we're just looking at mostly cloudy conditions, a bit of fog and freezing rain in the northwest, but otherwise chance for snow sporadically across the state, but just a winter weekend. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the National Weather Service has in store for the next 24 hours. As you can see from the National Weather Service, it'll be a nice wintry weekend. Today we have partly to mostly cloudy skies with a chance for patchy freezing drizzle in the northwest, highs ranging from the mid-20s to mid-30s. Tonight we'll have mostly cloudy skies across most of this state with scattered freezing rain and fogged in northwest Iowa, lows ranging from the upper teens to low 20s. Tomorrow it'll be cloudy with chances for snow to the south, highs ranging from the upper 20s to low 30s. And taking a look at the affiliate weather map for tomorrow, Cherokee will be mostly cloudy with some fog in the morning that will clear off later on and a high of 28. Shenandoah cloudy with a chance for snow and a high of 33. Des Moines cloudy with a chance for snow and a high of 31. Waterloo cloudy and 27. Albia cloudy with a chance for snow and 33. And Clinton will be mostly cloudy with a high around 33. For more detailed forecasts in your part of the state, make sure to check in with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook, and that also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And you can find all of our video content as well as previous episodes of AMPM on our YouTube channel. So make sure you are subscribed and hit that notification bell to see when those videos go live. Don't forget as well our free Twice Daily Market podcasts on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IRN studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Mark Magnuson and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.